Thanks so much, Scarlett, for that introduction. And thank you so much to the other speakers for their very interesting tools that I have been really, very excited by to learn. And just give me a moment. I might be technologically challenged, so I'll try to share my screen that works well. And I hope that is working well for you now. Yep. You can see my screen? Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Amazing. Give me a moment, please. Yeah. So I'm Kaunain, and I will walk you through our plethora of business integrity tools at Transparency International to give you sort of a flavor of what we are doing here in business integrity. So just taking a few steps back, I think it's important to understand also how we are approaching business integrity as a topic in itself. So Transparency International, which is a global anti-corruption movement, has a secretariat in Berlin, but of course has its chapters across the world. And because it has more than 100 chapters in various contexts, each chapter deals with specific challenges that include, again, a multitude of solutions. So to address that, we have 7 strategic objectives, one of which is business integrity. And the idea is to tackle that subject in 3 distinct ways. The first one is collective action. So, we really try to increase businesses' capacities to engage in multi-stakeholder collective action. The second is more internal focused, how we can contribute to businesses strengthening their internal culture of integrity. And the third is the entire business environment. So, looking at the regulatory frameworks, the compliance control mechanisms. And here also we try to look now in this dynamic space of ESG reporting. So ESG reporting is something that we're trying to look at from both the business environment sense, so the external environment, as well as the internal compliance structures for business. So these are the 3 main distinct areas that we're trying to advance integrity in business through. So the next, I'll be presenting one sort of not flagship, but one interesting initiative, a tool from each of these areas for you to consider. And I'll just walk you through that now and just giving you a flavor right now. And apologies if this is a bit overwhelming and like too many tools coming your way. But I've also included resources later on that you could skim through to look at the tools in more detail. But kicking us off, the most interesting for us in the collective action space actually is something which we call Integrity Pacts. Integrity Pacts are focused mostly it's focused on procurement. So it's about creating level playing fields when it comes to procurement. And what these Integrity Pact essentially is a multi-stakeholder collective action initiative, which has been conceived by TI way back in the 90s to basically foster good governance and prevent corruption in public procurement. And how this is basically done is there is a pact that is created between government, private sector, and civil society. And the civil society essentially acts as external monitoring, plays an external monitoring role to make sure that all of the commitments that both the public sector and the private sector have made vis-a-vis this particular, project or contract is upheld. And oftentimes, many companies have asked us, so what is our role in this? Like, why do we care about this? And it's very interesting to note that the Integrity Pacts actually came out of discussions with private sector because they were facing challenges of endemic corruption in the business environment. They wanted to access certain contracts and they were unable to because of favoritism by the public sector and public contracting authorities towards certain business. So the Integrity Pact also removes this sort of favoritism layer. It allows for fair competition in that sense. So, and this is truly a multi-stakeholder collective action that brings together all of these different parties, to try and create the best outcomes for that particular procurement project. So yeah, that's our Integrity Pact. Interestingly, some of you might know, but we are in the process of coming out with, and now we're just at the finish line. So in the next few weeks, we should have a Global Integrity Pact blueprint that is building on 30 years of our experience of having run Integrity Pacts in various jurisdictions across the world. And what we want to do in terms of business integrity for Integrity Pacts is embed also in it, certain new evolved new evolved iterations of business integrity tools. So for example, we want to leverage ESG reporting. How can ESG reporting and how can your sustainability reporting play a role in terms of you getting greater access to contracts? Is there an incentive that can be offered for those companies that are able to exhibit a higher level of sustainability scores? We are including clauses for perhaps supply chain integrity and adopting international standards on corporate integrity within the IP. And of course, the Integrity Pact also serves as a platform for real inclusive contract execution. So really bringing together this entire affected communities bit to the conversation, which also helps the private sector to navigate some of these very delicate conversations when it comes to public procurement projects. So that's just a very, very short flavor for you. And just if you would like to explore a bit more on Integrity Pacts, we have our Global Integrity Pact Compendium, which you can also access via the QR code, which is on the top. And there you can see where all we have implemented Integrity Pacts across the world, and also their learnings, which are not just successes, but also failures, and what we can do to mitigate some of the risks. So that's just on our collective action bit that I wanted to touch upon. Moving on, coming to anti-corruption compliance. And very interesting to listen to Paul about how compliance, when it becomes too much, can often result in a tick box exercise and can actually, affect ethical behavior in that sense. So what we've tried to do at TI is basically develop sort of a toolkit for business to have a look at what is needed when they're actually trying to do anti-corruption compliance within their operations. So what are the basic prerequisites that you need to have in place? So we've developed this sort of 6-step plan, and you can access this again via the QR code here. So, and this is the interesting part. I will go into the next slide. But here you can see the 6-step plan, which is committing to an anti-corruption program, assessing the risk, planning the anti-corruption program, acting on the plan, monitoring, and then finally reporting internally and externally. And if you go on the anti-corruption toolkits for business, you will be able to see that for each of these steps, we have an overview of what the step is, what the specific business requirements need to be, and further tools that we have developed for each of these steps that businesses can utilize. So yeah, again, that's a QR code if you would like to access the anti-corruption toolkits for business that we have on our website. Very interestingly, some of these tools that were there in this toolkit for business were dated. So very, very recently, in fact, if I can see from it's still in September. So just last week, we launched a toolkit that was targeted specifically for medium-sized enterprises, but also works for small and medium-sized enterprises. And here again, this is sort of serving as a starter kit for those organizations that might have limited resources or limited knowledge on how to go about, putting together an anti-corruption compliance system. And this basically comes on the heels of this requirement that many large-scale organizations often have of their suppliers that may be based in those jurisdiction and contexts that don't require this level of anti-corruption compliance. So to give SMEs and medium-sized enterprises an edge, when also vying for those very lucrative contracts and lucrative, to be part of those lucrative supply chains, this is something that they can make use of. And what we've tried to do here is, of course, make a business case for integrity, talk about the basic foundation that needs to be there in place. But what we've also provided is, a draft anti-corruption policy and templates for what a financial crime clause could look like, template for what a conflict of interest framework could look like, as well as what a complaints handling framework could look like. So we've provided those detailed templates within this toolkit. And of course, the toolkit also has illustrative examples with what is a bad practice and what is a good practice to make things quite evident and clear. So yeah, I would highly encourage you to also access this. This is not on our website as yet, but very quick preview of this. But if you have the QR code from the previous slide, which I will also be sharing later on, by next week, you should be able to access this toolkit on our website as well. So we've spoken about collective action, we've spoken about anti-corruption compliance, and now finally we come to the business environment, because none of us exist in isolation, and we have to, work in the environments that we are a part of. And this is very interesting for not just companies, but also for other stakeholders that exist in a particular business environment. This is called a Business Integrity Country Agenda, which is our two-phased tool. It is about doing an assessment of the corruption challenges in a given business environment, and then not just saying, hey, we've done the research and now what do we do? So now it's about taking that research, really forming a meaningful collective action, so like a national advisory group that actually contains stakeholders from those policymakers that can affect change, as well as private sector representatives and civil society, to then act upon the main findings of the research, to actually come up with those regulatory changes that are needed to solve the challenges that have been identified in the assessment stage. So yeah, this is what the BICA assessment framework basically is. It's about how we are assessing the public sector efforts, private sector efforts, and civil society efforts. So there are different, there are different things that we are checking for, which is done through desk-based research, as well as interviews and consultations with each of these stakeholder groups in that particular context. So we've had our latest BICA was done in Romania and Serbia, which was in 2022. And yeah, this is a national level effort that is mostly taken by chapters. So interesting for also companies that would like to explore new environments and understand what corruption challenges could be there. So I have given you too many tools for each of these areas, and not to confuse, and to help you understand where you can access this. So we have two main places where you can actually access all of our business integrity tools. The first one I will refer to is the Business Integrity Program page, where you can access all our publications, including what I just spoke about, amongst many, many others. Another very interesting resource, which I will get into a bit more in the next slides, is something known as our Anti-Corruption Knowledge Hub. So at Transparency International, what we also run is a help desk. It's an anti-corruption help desk, which is open to development practitioners as well as all our chapters. And they ask us any question under the sun about anti-corruption. And what we essentially do is prepare a research brief of the state of knowledge of what is out there in the public domain on that topic to help inform their decision-making vis-a-vis that topic. So the help desk has been in operation for more than 10 years now, and we have put together so many answers that we have actually created a knowledge hub that has a variety of research briefs on various topics. For instance, if you type ESG when you go to the Anti-Corruption Knowledge Hub, you will be able to find all of the papers that we have, all of the research briefs we have on ESG. For example, the latest one is from June this year on ESG and anti-corruption, and the other one is from 2022 on anti-corruption and ESG standards. The first one is dealing more with mandatory reporting, and the second one with voluntary reporting. But yeah, this is how you can also access, and this Knowledge Hub is not just for business integrity answers and research briefs. You can search for a variety of corruption topics. If you're interested in gender, if you're interested in how human rights can be synergized with anti-corruption compliance, like all of this can be found on the Knowledge Hub. So I will, after having steamrolled through all of these tools, I will stop here for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Kaunain. That was amazing, and you were right on time. So brilliant. Thanks so much. And just to say, because we already had some questions, we will share all of the information and the slides, etc., with everyone. So if certain things have gone a little bit too fast for people, you will have the opportunity to follow up with that. We do have one quite specific question for you, and that is a question around differentiating from your perspective between an anti-corruption policy and an anti-corruption program in terms of the tool and the way you're looking at it and what exactly it is that you are looking at from your tools. So maybe we can add that in quickly and then get to our last speaker. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. So an anti-corruption policy, in essence, is how you want to tackle corruption challenges in your organization, and you come up with an entire policy framework and a code of conduct or code of ethics on how that needs to translate. But an anti-corruption program is also including the entire implementation of that policy. So what systems would you need to have in place to be able to execute that policy in action? So which would include a conflict of interest mechanism, a grievance mechanism, a whistleblower protection mechanism. So all of this together will constitute your anti-corruption program that you would have in place vis-a-vis just your policy. So yeah, I hope that succinctly answers the question.